Morning. How are you? Did you sleep well? Did you stay up late? Maybe you stayed up late last night. I don't know. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining bright. I'm excited. It's Thursday. Lots of reasons to be excited. I woke up, breath in my lungs, got a heartbeat. I thought it was cooler. I actually dressed too much. I actually had to take off had a hoodie. Believe it or not, we wear hoodies here in Florida. So today I want to share with you, when you come on, just let me know if it's live. Hit a hashtag live down in the comments so I know you're with me. And I see sometimes the numbers come up and people show up, and then if I don't know who you are, I'd love to talk to you. But today we're going to talk about what my grandmother taught me, and two big lessons, and they're a bit kind of contrasting. So I thought that was actually interesting. And as I'm going on this walk with my dog, with Owen here on his walk, his morning walk, he has the beach life. And but I was thinking about just kind of back in the day, like I was reminiscing about life back on the farm, and have conversations with my parents, and we reminisce and they tell us old stories. And I was thinking about my grandmother, and she was an amazing woman. Actually, I have some amazing family members. All of them are awesome. And my grandmother particularly just kind of resonated with me this morning. And there was two big lessons that I've learned. Now, I learned a lot of lessons from my grandparents. We actually moved I was the fifth generation, believe it or not, in the house that I grew up in. Now, we moved in when my grandparents got older. It was a big farm. And my family moved into their house, and they lived with us. And then we built an addition on the house, and then they had like their own kind of grandparent suite, if you will, or it was like the in-laws suite. And that was for a number of years. So I got to spend a lot of time with my grandparents and grandmother, grandfather. And my grandmother was an amazing woman. She was actually legally blind in her 70s, but it didn't stop her. And it didn't stop her from doing some amazing things. She was an amazing cook. She did a lot of things that you don't see people, men and women, we don't do our trades. There's not a lot of farmers left, not a lot of tradespeople. She actually was also great crafting and things. And one of the things that I learned from her, and this is something that, again, if you can get this lesson from my grandma, then you're ahead of the game. And if you can dial that in, you will win more at life. Trust me, you will win more at life. And I want to share with you the story of what I actually witnessed growing up as a kid. She had this, not really a hobby, it was just something that she liked to do. She liked to make things. And one of the things she made was really her life's work. And it was what's called a rag rug. And I don't know if you've ever heard of a rag rug before, but this actual rug was made out of, if you've ever heard about it, made out of old clothing, typically like jackets and pants and shirts and stuff that really aren't wearable anymore. They're worn out, but they can reuse the material and make a rug. So anyway, she decided to make a rag rug. And I think she worked on it. I think it was maybe 8 or 10 years she worked on it, just a little bit on the side here and there. Now, mind you, she made this while she was blind. And she took 8 to 10 years to make, I think it was something like that, 8 years at least to make it. And maybe I'm exaggerating the story. Maybe it was 4 or 5 years. But anyway, regardless. So the one thing I learned from my grandmother, and it was amazing. The thing was about 10 foot. It was huge. It's the biggest rag rug I've ever seen. In fact, we had it at our house, and you're going to be disappointed when I tell you that we actually donated it to a school, to my kids' school, elementary school, for their library. In their library, they had kind of a junky carpeted floor. So anyway, that's another story. But anyway, this rug was in our family for years and years, and had even my dad remember some of the clothing from this rag rug. So anyway, we made it a donation, and it took a long time. So the point was that she had patience. You see, listening to the story, you're being patient, waiting for what is this life lesson that your grandmother can teach me. And the first thing is patience. Patience. We are an impatient people, especially nowadays when we can actually get things, instantaneous. Thanks to Google and internet, we can find things that we need instantaneously, right? We can reach people instantaneously. So I think that the the concept of patience has really worn off on society as a whole. I'm one of the most impatient people there to meet you could ever meet. So that's the first thing. So the first lesson my grandmother could teach you is in patience. I remember my grandfather who would see her work on it and then say, hey, no, you messed it up. And it was kind of mean of my grandfather to do this. Oh, you messed it up. You got to go back and do it over. And then she'd unravel it. And it's like a rag rug and it goes around in a circle. And it was huge. It was giant. And she completed it and it was amazing. That was the lesson number one. Now the second lesson, this one is this is contrasting now. And it's okay to have patience and then have this other thing. The other lesson was, we grew up on a farm and we had animals. Now, at the time that we lived on the farm, there wasn't nearly as many. There was at one point 1,000 chickens. This is before I was around, but 1,000 chickens and cows and all that stuff. And we had about 20 acres of land. But when we moved on it, we still farmed it. There was pigs and chickens, but we had maybe 30 or 40 chickens and maybe 20 pigs, and we had a horse and a couple cows and so forth, so on. So we had our own actually little organic produce, and we actually had vegetables in the back. It was amazing. I look back on it now and there's something drawing me back to the farm. So, and that's maybe why I was thinking about it. So the second thing that we had is the chickens. And what happens with the chickens, they lay eggs and then we eat the chickens too. That's the other thing. We eat the chickens just like you do. You eat chickens, you just buy it at a store. We actually killed our own chickens and we had a rooster. So here's the second lesson. Now, I'll never forget this, and this is a good one. So you want to hang tight and listen up. So the second lesson, I'll never forget. My grandmother was going in this chicken coop. She went in the coop. There was a rooster, and roosters can be mean, right? Like they kind of defend their territory, and I was down there with my grandmother, and we were getting eggs, and the rooster was kind of messing with her. And she was just kind of shooing it away, and the rooster came up and pecked. They pecked like bitter, right? The rooster, one of these roosters that we had a couple, pecked her on the hand. It was like mean, and like a couple times pecked her, trying to like attack like a rooster will do. And my grandmother did not hesitate, and she took that rooster by the neck in literally like 3 seconds. I was there, and my mouth just went like. My dog just burped. And my grandmother took that rooster by the neck and she literally grabbed it by its neck and swung it around, and in less than she grabbed it in 3 seconds, swung the neck around and broke the neck and then laid it there. I'm like, I will never mess with my grandmother ever again. You see, the second lesson that my grandmother taught me in that moment, and now as I'm thinking back to it, is in decisiveness, is in being decisive, taking action. That's the thing. Another thing that I think people end up failing a lot, especially what I see with their health and fitness, especially when they're trying to lose weight and they get serious. Two major things they fail on, and my grandmother can teach you so you can not only win more at your health and fitness, you can win more at life. And the first thing is patience. You have to have patience with yourself when you're on a weight loss and fitness journey. Patience is the virtue, right? Patience is a virtue. The second thing is that really prevents people from truly becoming their best is that lack of decisiveness. Now, I'm not telling you to go and wring anybody's neck and break their neck, but what did my grandmother do? She did not hesitate. She said this rooster had been causing, and she said, the rooster had been causing trouble in the coop. And she took with one hand, it wasn't even two hands. She literally took it with one hand and literally swung it around and cracked its neck. And guess what? That rooster never messed with her again. So my question to you is, are you patient? Are you patient with yourself? And I'm not saying patience in other words like, oh, well, I've been patient. That's why I haven't done anything. That's why I'm not losing weight. That's why I'm not exercising. That's why I'm not choosing to eat healthy. I'm being patient. That's what I'm not talking about. I'm talking patience when you are actually taking action and being decisive. So the other question is, are you decisive? Are you indecisive? Sometimes the worst decisions you're making is the indecisiveness, not making a decision, not choosing you. Not choosing to be your best, not choosing to be your healthiest. And you know what? Sometimes I think it's easy as parents. I know for a fact, even myself, I get caught up. And sometimes I fail at it, but I get caught up worrying about everybody else's needs, taking care of everybody else. You know, just like when you go on an airplane and before you take off, they come on and they say, all right, if we're in an emergency and the oxygen masks come down, you are to first put your oxygen mask on first before you put and help somebody put their oxygen mask on. So two lessons that my grandmother has taught me, and I hope in this little live, and gosh, what an amazing day. Tell you what, it was like cool yesterday. It should be, I wish it was a little bit cooler. It's still like in the 70s, but it's October here. I'm ready to be in like the 60s. So two big lessons that you can take away from today from my grandmother is, think of her rag rug that she's made. And if I have a picture, I'll post it below. Patience. It takes patience. Be patient with yourself. All right, allow yourself to mess up a little bit, but don't stay there. And the second thing is be decisive. See, it's okay to be patient, and if you're messing up, it's okay to be patient, but just make some decisions already, right? Failure to launch. I mean, there's an indecisiveness that's out there, and I feel like it's plaguing this world more than anything. We're so indecisive. Listen, the world locked down and shut down, and everybody kind of froze, you know, in a panic, and I totally get it. But I also saw that people just stayed there. They stayed stuck. They stayed frozen. They didn't make a decision. They're like, oh no, what do I do? Well, the reality is time's still ticking away. Your day is still passing by. Time is not gonna stop just because maybe our country stopped or our world stopped, right? So if you can take two lessons that I learned from my grandmother, and I'm thinking about today, is one of patience and of taking action, right? Being decisive and taking action right away. That's all I have. Take care and have a blessed one. And listen, if you enjoyed this, I do this every day at 8 a.m. And feel free to share. Post your comments. I'd love to hear from you what you thought. I'd really love to engage. If you came on and watched, that's cool too. Keep watching. I do appreciate any bit of time, whether it's one daily dose or you've watched many. Appreciate you. Take care. Have a blessed day.